to tell you just a little bit about myself, and then I want to share with you what I feel that the Lord is putting on my heart for the women of our community, the women of this county, but even further than that, because I know that some women came from Medford. Did anyone come farther than Medford? No? Medford's the farthest. Okay. So, anyway, so I run a really cool nonprofit ministry called Purely His. And God actually gave me the idea, gave me the vision for Purely His when I was only 2 weeks clean and sober. I was actually in drug rehab when God gave me the vision of the ministry I now run. And the vision is that we have these small groups, they're discipleship groups for men, women, teens, or couples, and we have a curriculum that I wrote. And in that curriculum, people go and they meet up, once a week for 5 months. And in that amount of time, they are learning how to go all in with Jesus and how to get unstuck from anything in the way of that. And another thing they're learning is like what their real identity is, and what their calling is, what their purpose in life is. And so they're learning so much. But the other thing that they're really learning is how to have unity. It's how to have like real friends and talking at a deep level. So we're going to talk about really deep things tonight. I'm not into surface talk. I just can't even like play on that playing field. I have to go below the surface because I believe that that's where we're actually going to make connections. We can't make connections by just knowing each other's name or our status in life. We need to know a little bit more about each other in order to be able to connect. And so, like I said, this vision that God gave me, He gave to me when I was only 2 weeks clean and sober, and He only gave me like a little bit of the vision, and then later on He elaborated. And what He showed me is that I was in this room with women. There was like 8 or 10 women in there, and I was raising them up and sending them out. And when I raised them up and sent them out, they went into their own communities, their own churches, their own homes, and they started a group. And then they raised up the women and they sent them out. And He showed me that it covered the entire world, which is crazy. So we started in Medford. We started almost 7 years ago is when I finally was like, okay, Lord, I'll do it. So I started in Medford, didn't know anybody, and the Lord has just continued to use me in that way, continue to bless these groups. And so now, we started with 4 groups, men and women groups, and now over the last probably, because I guess we really launched about 5-6 years ago or so, we have now done probably 150 groups. So now we're, not just in Medford, but we went all the way up to Portland, and outside of Portland, we went all the way to Klamath Falls and all the way to Wairika now. And so there are several groups that are actually getting ready to start right here in this community, but women are already getting free. So raise your hand or stand up if you are in Purely His, have led Purely His, or are, somehow affiliated with Purely His. Raise your hand. So if you have any questions about what Purely His is, sometimes when you're so close to it, it's really hard to describe it. So because I'm like this, it's harder for me to describe it than somebody else who has actually gone through it. Isn't that right, Shannon? It's really true. You guys describe it much better than I do. But Purely His came out of my past. It didn't just come out of all the junk that I went through, but it really came out of my actual healing. How did I actually heal? How did I heal from drug addiction? How did I heal from alcoholism? How did I heal from sex addiction? How did I heal from physical abuse? How did I heal from one of my sons being sexually abused? How did I actually heal from that? How did I heal from the shame of having 2 divorces? How did I heal from the shame of having, 2 abortions? That is basically what Purely His is. It's really, how do you actually heal from some really tough stuff? And it doesn't, the people who are in Purely His, they don't all have a story like I do. A lot of them are leaders in their church. They might be pastors in their church. They might be worship leaders in their church. They may have been walking with the Lord for 20 years, 40 years, whatever. But the thing is that no matter how long we've known Jesus, no matter how many times we've gone all in with Jesus, can't we get a little more unstuck? Can't we, come to another level where we go a little more all in with Jesus? And so it really is for everyone. But it's cool because the Lord brought us, me and my family, He brought us here 3 years ago, I think, is when we came to Siskiyou County, and we were still doing everything over in Medford. We were going to church there, we were shopping there, getting our gas there, and we were really working on our ministry there. And then we were just pretty much living in Siskiyou County. Until one day I was driving through Wairika, and I'm just driving down the street, doing my thing, and all of a sudden I noticed a girl with a black eye. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's in an abusive relationship. Drove a little bit further, boom, saw a meth addict over here. I was like, oh man, he's not doing okay. You know, and then I kept driving, and I just kept seeing the need. And the Lord showed me, you know what, this is where I brought you. I want you to bloom where you have been planted. It's time for you to bring your ministry over here. It's time for you to start shopping here. It's time for you to put your gifting and your resources right here in Siskiyou County. So that was, 2 years ago or so, and that's what I've been doing. So it's really exciting. So tonight, we called this event Purely His Outlet, a place to get plugged in. So I want to share with you where that came from. So Kelly and I had met for coffee right over at Zephyr's, and we were just, having girl talk, but that really deep girl talk, and she was sharing with me a word that the Lord gave her several months prior to that. And I was like, dang, that's such a good word, that's so good, you should totally share that. And she was like, I don't have an outlet. I have no way to get it out of me. I feel like I'm actually dying inside because I had this word from the Lord and I just can't get it out. And so we talked a little bit more about that, and I said, you know what, no one's just going to go, here you go, Kelly, here's an outlet for you. Sometimes we just have to create it ourselves. Sometimes we have to just be like, you know what, I need an outlet. I got something in me from the Lord, and I got to get it out there. Whether that's your story, your testimony, whether that's a word from the Lord, whether that's some wisdom that God has blessed you with, we all have something inside of us that needs to get out. And so if somebody doesn't hand you an outlet, you sometimes have to create it yourself. And so that's what we did. We created it. And so we sat there and talked, and I was like, you know what we should do? We should totally do an event. We'll just create an outlet because you need to get that word out. That's going to make you come alive again. And so that's kind of how it started. And, we talked about where should we have it? How do we want this to really go down? And we chose here for a few different reasons. One is it's not inside of church. Two, we found out that Joetta, who owns it, is a Christian. And so I was like, wow, we want to really be able to bless her because this is a new business for her. And we wanted to be able to drive traffic here as a way to bless her. But the biggest reason why we didn't want it in the church is because if we have it at Life Foursquare Church, which is where we attend, some people might not go there because it's not their denomination. And we could have maybe had it at the Methodist church, but, maybe somebody wouldn't go there because it's not their denomination. And so we wanted to have it in a place that was very neutral ground so that all denominations could come here. We want people who love Jesus or are curious about Jesus to have a safe place where they can go, I can totally go into a place like that. That's a little less intimidating, and there's no competition here. No competition between denominations. It's all about the unity that the Lord really wants to develop in our community. I really felt like the Lord was telling me He wants unity in our community. He wants unity in the community of believers. It doesn't matter what church building you go to. It doesn't matter what denomination you go to. It doesn't matter if you're in leadership or not in leadership. He wants us all to be together, and He wants us to be able to recognize each other, when we see each other at the store or at the bank or whatever. He wants us to know, she's a believer too. He wants us to be able to recognize each other like that. And but it just really felt like He wanted a place that was outside of the church so that all denominations could come, so that all women from all walks of life could come, and no one would feel intimidated by it. Because I know, with the past that I come from and a lot of the women I work with, they're pretty mad at church leadership. They might even be mad at God, or they're one of those that will say, well, I love Jesus, but I hate the church. All right, cool. Well, then we're going to bring the church to you. You don't have to ever step inside of a building. You can meet Jesus in this type of way. And let me clarify that. I love church, okay? I love church. I go to church all the time. I'm totally into going to church. I'm not knocking church at all. But sometimes when somebody is angry at God or angry at church leadership and won't step foot inside of a building, sometimes we have to bring the church to them. So that's kind of what we're doing tonight. I need to drink some water, sorry. So tonight, as after Kelly and I met, so we made the date, we're like, okay, we're gonna do this. I started thinking about all these different ways of like how an outlet applies to us. Like, we started this because I wanted to give Kelly an outlet. I wanted her to be able to step into her calling and to be able to have an outlet for the gifting that God has given her and the word that He has given her. And then I started thinking, well, dang, this is my outlet too, because I get to actually share too. I get to encourage the women too. I get to inspire the women too. And then I started thinking about how Amanda and Anna's right here, and Amanda is back there. So they're going to do the worship tonight. And I started thinking, this is their outlet too. They're going to get to pour out, worship to the Lord, and they're going to get to, step into their calling and use their gifting tonight. And then I started thinking about our prayer team. So we have an amazing prayer team tonight. Do you have 6 or 8 with you altogether? 7, perfect number, literally. So for those of you who don't know, the number 7 in the Bible means perfection or completion. And there's 7 chairs at every single table, which is really cool. And 7 is actually the day that I went into rehab. So I went in on May 7th, 2006. And so anyway, 7 is just a really important number. But anyway, so I was thinking about, for the prayer team too, this is their outlet. Like, God has been pouring into them. They have been praying for 2 weeks now for this event? Like, to get, about 2 weeks for this event, and just pouring into it and praying over all of you before they ever even met you. So tonight, they're going to allow the Lord to pour through them. And that's the other part of an outlet. So it's purely His outlet. We are His outlet. So it's whatever the Lord wants to say through us. We're His outlet. We're just empty, willing vessels for His honor and glory. And we're just going to allow Him to speak through us tonight. We're going to allow Him to worship through us. We're going to allow Him to pray through us. And we're just going to be used by Him because this is His thing. He wanted all of you here. And He wants to love on you. And He wants to encourage you. He wants to inspire you. He wants to set you free. And He wants you to not be alone anymore. Even alone in a crowd. A lot of us, we can fake it till we make it, or we can be alone in a crowd, but the Lord doesn't want us alone anymore. He really wants us to get plugged back in. And so, the person you need to plug back into is actually Jesus. But there's so many ways to plug back into Him. So it's through prayer, at the end of tonight, we're going to have that prayer time. That's the perfect opportunity for you to be like, okay, Lord, I've been a little unplugged. I really do want to plug back into you tonight. If that can happen in worship when you're just sitting at your chair, you can make that decision in your heart, Lord, I need to plug back into you. The other way that you can get plugged in is you can either join one of our purely His groups that are getting ready to start, or you can decide, you know what? Just like Kelly, it's no one's going to give her an outlet, so she had to create one. So why don't you just start your own purely His group? That's another way for you to not only get plugged in, but also to have an outlet. And so, sorry, I have to keep drinking water. Not only is it hot, but when you get nervous, your mouth dries up. But anyways, as we're pouring out tonight, the Lord is as He pours out, He wants to ask you for a response. He wants to ask you to plug back in, to plug back into Him, to plug back into community, plug back in with Christian women. So what does that look like? If you are disconnected from church right now, for whatever reason, He would love to see you back at church. He would love that. Not only do you need church, but they need you. Church can be amazing if we go into it with the right perspective. And so, there's a lot of really good churches in our area, in our county, in Medford. And if you need help finding a church, let us know. When my husband and I first moved here, we had a really cool church up in Medford. So we're we have to leave this church and find a new one, which is always uncomfortable. Well, we went to 5 different churches. We church hopped every single Sunday until we found a church that we walked in, and by the second worship song, we were oh yeah, this is our church. I'm pretty sure this is our church. And so sometimes you have to do that to get plugged back into church, And same with a purely His group. It's a matter of just signing up. It's a matter of just saying, I could use a small community of women, and I could go a little more, in with Jesus. I could get a little more unstuck. But just to put yourself in an environment where the Lord can totally heal you and raise you up and send you out. there's a lot of ways to get plugged in, but I think the main person we need to plug back into is Jesus. Jesus is the one who changes us from the inside out. So May 7th, I celebrated 13 years clean and sober. Never backslidden. I've never gone backwards. I have never gone backwards. I have not just had one sip of beer. I've not had sex with one guy who wasn't my husband. I have not smoked a cigarette. I've not snorted a line. I've not done any of that stuff. I have not gone backwards at all, because when I was about 4 months into rehab is when I finally was like, Lord, I am all in. I am so done with my past. I'm so afraid of my future, but whatever. I'm just going to go for it. And it was like I surrendered my past, my present, my future, my sons. I just surrendered everything. My shame, I just laid it all down. And I made the choice from that point on that I was never going to go backwards, that I was going to be obedient to everything the Lord told me to do. Because it was like, for some reason, it was like when he gave me that glimpse of what my calling was, when he gave me the glimpse of purely his, it was like, seriously, Lord, I've always been a loser. I was a high school dropout. I was a teen mom. Nothing about me was desirable. But when the Lord showed me that God uses people like me, women like me, like when I read that part in the Bible about the woman at the well who was married 5 times and living with a guy who wasn't her husband, I was like, seriously? That's like me, Lord? Oh my gosh. And at the end of her story, not the end of her story, but the end of what it talks about in the Bible, it says, and by her testimony, many were saved. It's like when I realized that God used women like me, that's what gave me the desire, that's what gave me, the motivation to be able to do whatever it took to get to that place. It was like, okay, Lord, because I want to have a life that by my testimony, many are saved. Well, that included me. I had to completely plug back into the Lord, 100%. I couldn't be like, okay, I'll just kind of try this thing out, or okay, I'll give him 60% of my life. It was like, no. When you really look at it, it's like, Jesus went all in first. He gave up his throne first. He came to earth first. He went and died on the cross first. He paid it all. And then he went up to heaven and he's getting us, getting it all ready for us up there. He went all in first. And when he went there, then the amazing part is he sent his Holy Spirit. And so then I got to have his Holy Spirit. He went all in with me. He didn't say, well, I'm going to give you part of my Holy Spirit. I'm just going to give you a tiny bit. No, he was like, I'll give it all to you. So he went all in first into my body. So then I'm never, ever, ever going to be alone again. And even though the past I have is horrific, I get to go to heaven, which is super awesome. So I get to go to heaven with him. I get to live with him all the days of my life because he's in me. And he even uses me. I get to be his outlet. So I'm no longer a loser. I actually get to be used by the Lord and have purpose in my life. And like my main purpose is helping people come out of situations that I was stuck in. It's literally just taking people by the hand and be like, come on, I'll show you how to do this. Like, Jesus is so awesome. You should totally meet him, and I'm going to show you how to get unstuck, and let's go do this thing. I mean, that's my whole life. That's what I do, is literally just help people, inspire people, encourage people to come out of lifestyles that I came out of. And even more so, it's like, he even took it up a notch, because when I was in rehab, I thought, oh, I know what my calling is. It's just drug addicts. That's what it is. It's drug addicts. Oh, and then after that, it's just single moms. Yeah, single moms who are drug addicts. That's my thing, because that's what I related to. And then it kept going. Then it was like, all of a sudden, it was like these young women who didn't have kids yet. It was like this ministry that was like, prior to them getting into all the trouble. And then it just kept going. All of a sudden, God started using me to work with marriages. I'm like, are you sure, Lord? I am the girl who's had 2 divorces. Are you sure, Lord? Yep, I'm sure. And then all of a sudden, it became leaders. So then I started, ministering to people that I used to think were way, way above me. And the Lord just showed me that he leveled it all out. And he was using all of those things to train me so that I could work with anybody. But it's like always the same message. It's always helping people to go all in with Jesus and get unstuck from anything in the way of that. And so, you know, it's amazing to be plugged into the Lord. I have never like unplugged. There's been a couple of times that I have felt like this is getting too hard. I feel like I'm gonna burn out or whatever. But I'm telling you, like, being all in with Jesus is like the most exhilarating, most peaceful, most joyful thing. I mean, I can't even compare it to anything. I just remember like in my past thinking and even saying out loud, watch, someday I'm gonna be high off of life. You'll see, someday I'm gonna be high off of life. And I was high at the time when I said that, but it was crazy because I was literally like prophesying over my own life. I was literally like encouraging my own soul. And the Lord was actually speaking that to me. It was like somehow, it was like, and it was so far out here, but now I'm literally living a life where I'm high on life. I'm high off of life, I'm high off of Jesus, I'm excited about my life, I'm excited about, you know, everything He allows me to do. My life is so very different now. I am married now to a very awesome Christian cop. And it's crazy, we're both actually married to police officers. So, but anyways, we have an amazing life. I have 4 kids now, we're a blended family, and everything is just starting to come together in my life. You know, the Lord is restoring everything that Satan stole from me. Everything.
Thank you, Jesus.
So I don't know if you heard me say in my past I was a sex addict. So from the time I went all in with Jesus, I was abstinent. I totally abstained from having sex. I didn't date, no kissing, no nothing. And I actually waited all the way until my wedding night, which was almost 7 years. And that night was the night that I realized that God had even restored my innocence. He had even restored my purity. So I just want you to know that no matter what Satan has stolen from you, please know the Lord is ready to give it all back. And He can. And He will. But I do believe that He wants a response from you. And you don't have to respond right now, because I want you to just kind of like enjoy tonight. But at some point tonight, I just want you to know He wants you to respond. He already went all in. He already loved you way before you ever even knew who Jesus was. He totally loved you. He loved you way before you ever cleaned up anything. He loves you like crazy, and He loves the women of our community, and He doesn't want any more division any longer. No more division, no more competition, no more lines. The Lord is blurring the lines tonight. No more lines. So take tonight, like as you're listening, and just think, you know, all throughout the night, whether it comes through me, whether it comes through Kelly, through the worship, through the prayer team, or somebody at your table, but please know the Lord is speaking to you tonight. Somehow, some way. You personally, not just the person that you brought. You personally. So open your ears, open your eyes, soften your heart, and just say, Lord, what do you want to say? It may even be something that's written on your table, whatever. Somehow, some way, the Lord is speaking to you tonight. You personally. So listen to Him. And then respond. So I'm going to actually bring Kelly up here. And Kelly is going to take over here in just a minute. Amanda's going to help us with some of the microphone stuff. And just before she gets going, so I'll say a few more things. So Joetta, the one who runs Level Up, so she started this year. She is a believer. She goes to Siskiyou Christian. And me and my friend Sean, who's in charge of the prayer team, we have been coming for, is it 3 months now or 2 months? 3? So anyways, we've been coming for like 3 months, and prior to that, I hated working out. I did not like it at all. I did not like it. But Joetta is really good at her job, and I actually like it. So after the first class that I went to, I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. I liked it. Okay. And Sean was like, you know what? I'm planning on doing it twice a week, you know, for the whole month. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I signed up, and she has this unlimited thing for like $59 a month, and it's like unlimited. You come to as many classes as you want. And, you know, it was crazy because the other day we had a class, it was Tuesday or Thursday. Was it Thursday? Yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah. And our whole class was Christians, which I thought was so cool. It was, yeah, it's not always like that, but it was really neat when it happened. And so, anyways, but Joetta for free, but she's also offering to anyone who comes tonight, anyone who's here, all of you, she's offering either a $10 off if you sign up for the monthly thing, so the $59 unlimited monthly class thing. If you sign up tonight, she'll give you $10 off, so it'll only be $49 for your first month. Or you can get a coupon on your way out for one free class. So either way, you get something for free tonight. So yeah, and please just thank her and bless her, because she's awesome for even letting us do that. So, but it's another great way for you to get all plugged in. All right, so I'm going to end this with one quick little scripture. So this is what I felt like the Lord was praying over our community, and this includes those women who are in Medford. So this is in John 17:20 through 23. This is Jesus speaking. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one. Father, just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. I and them and you and me. May they be brought to complete unity, to let the world know that you sent me and have loved them even as you have loved me. And I just really believe that the Lord wants complete unity. Complete unity. So as we're sitting here tonight, even looking around and seeing who's here, because when we see each other out and about, we need to know that the Lord wants us to be one. He wants complete unity so that the world will know that we belong to Him. So it's time to turn our community upside down, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Amen. Yeah. Do you think it kind of needs Jesus? Yes. I think so too. All right, so I'm going to bring Kelly up here. And we're gonna switch these little things and so hold on. Yep. With nothing like your voice. So my name is Kelly Perkins. For those of you that don't know me, I got saved when I was a little girl. I grew up going to Christian school, and then I totally fell away from the Lord because I realized I never knew Him for myself as a child. And after my heart was broken and I almost got married to somebody that I really shouldn't have been with, I found the Lord for myself. And I was about 18 at that point. Anyway, since then, I have 4 children, and I've got a 5th on the way, not here. Yeah, God is good. He has given me a few words at different times in my life, and I haven't had a place to share them, and I do my best to share them with whoever I feel God will lead me to share them with, but I'm so excited that you guys are here. So I hope that this word just really ministers to you and takes root. So, God's so funny. He gives me titles too, and I always think that's kind of funny, but He told me to do the dirty work. So, along with that came, a picture. He speaks to me a lot of times in pictures and through the word, but also just through little sayings or different things like that. But so my sermon title is called "Do the Dirty Work and Steward Your Seed." And you guys have probably all heard the parable of the sower, but I'm going to reread it anyway, so we have a foundation to go from. So in Matthew 13, verse 30, Jesus is teaching in a parable. He said, "And he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, Behold, the sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seeds fell beside the road, and the birds came up and ate them. Others fell on rocky places where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up because they had no depth of soil. But when the sun had risen, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Others fell among the thorns, and the thorns came up and choked them out. And others fell on good soil and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. He who has ears, let him hear." So we get so busy doing good things and family things and work things and worldly things, and we have to live in this world that it
consuming, but when God things come around, we don't have room or energy or any space left to walk those things out. So every new year, this last new year, I try to really spend some quiet time and ready myself for a new beginning. And God's been so faithful to give me a new word every year. But often I live a little in the future. Anybody that knows me knows that's very true. And so at the beginning of the year, I really try to just be present and quiet my thoughts down and allow the Lord to speak. And this year, He gave me the word intentional surrender. And I was just like, what does that mean? I'm not sure I really like that. Surrender is hard already, but then I have to be intentional about it. So that was a little bit hard to grab hold of, but I leaned into the Lord and He showed me more. He gave me a picture of a large oak tree. And down on the bottom, around the ground of the oak tree, there was a lot of dead grass. Out in Grenada, we have a lot of clump grass, and it looked a lot like that. You know, it's alive, but it doesn't really look alive, and you kind of wonder why it's there, but it just grows everywhere. Anyways, there was this certain part on the ground that He led me to focus on, and He then told me, all you're in charge of is the soil. So it's kind of like, okay, I don't really understand what you're saying, you know, and just prayed more and tried to, follow His leading. And then this large hand comes down and yanks that grass out. And under that dead, ugly, kind of half-alive grass, there was deep, dark, moist soil. And that really spoke to me because, in the last few years, I felt like life was just cycling. Like everything was pretty close to the same. It was, things were happening. My kids were growing. Like life was good. I'm getting older. Like there's change. But it wasn't anything that I felt like, wow, this is great. I'm living life to the fullest. I'm really doing everything God has called me to do. Not that I wasn't, my first mission, or my main mission is my family and my children, and I try to be the mom that I'm supposed to be. But, I felt really stuck. And for me, stuck is not a good place to be. I'm very claustrophobic, and so even when I'm stuck spiritually, I really don't like it. Like, I like change, I like growth, I like knowing that I'm going somewhere, that I have a purpose, and I'm doing things, But spiritually, I just felt really immobile. So, this is where the picture of the dead grass and the hard earth felt really familiar. God showed me that if we're not brave enough to allow Him to come along and pull out the dead things in our lives, then we can never be prepared for the seed that He has in store. You see, God provides every bit. He provides the dirt, He provides the seed, He provides the water, He provides the sunlight, and even the growth. So it's like, okay, well, what's our part? We have free will, though, right? Like, we can fill our lives with whatever we want. And a lot of times, we're chasing the things of this world because it's here, right? Like, we get rewarded for the job that we work and the money that we make, and it's very present and in our faces. But if we're not careful, we can allow that to fill our lives so much that when God comes with something fresh and new, there's no room. Because when the seed hits that kind of soil, what's going to happen? It's not going anywhere, right? Anyway, so if you're here in this room, you're here on purpose. If you're here in this town, in Little White Rica, you're here for a purpose. God has every person here breathing air that He gave us to breathe. So we have a purpose. So if you feel like you don't have a purpose, that's a lie from the enemy. You cannot hold on to that. Every single person here has purpose. You're breathing air. God has you here in this moment for a reason. So that's what really God was showing me. So let me give you a little bit of backstory. A few years back, after having 3 boys, I felt like, okay, I'm done having babies. I don't want to do this anymore. Pregnancy's not so great for me. So Greg and I decided, that's my husband, we decided to call it quits in the reproduction area and look into adoption. Well, adoption was something I felt called to at a really young age. I think it was about high school that I really felt burdened for it. I heard about children in orphanages in Romania that were dying from not being held. And for whatever reason, that just stuck with me in such a way that I here we are over here wondering what we're supposed to do with our life. I could go over there and hold a bunch of babies, but life changed and I didn't get to do that. Regardless, that was kind of like the beginning, that first little seed that he planted in me regarding adoption. And then, so here we are, 3 boys, I'm done. Okay, let's do this adoption thing. What does that even look like? Well, I'm kind of the kite on the string and my husband's the one holding the string. So we make a good pair like that. I'm the dreamer and he's the realist, and sometimes we drive each other crazy in that, but we make a good pair like that. So he's just kind of like, adoption, that's weird people do that. I don't know people that do that. Why? This is the guy that wanted to stop after 2 boys because, 2 we can handle that. But for me, I just felt called to more. So luckily, God works on his heart too, individually, and he works on us together. Anyways, I met this wonderful woman here in Wairika. She no longer lives here, but I met her, and she had adopted from Uganda. She had a few kids of her own, and then they decided to adopt, and her husband's, her mother-in-law actually lives in Uganda and works a mission. So I got to know her, we became close friends, and then I decided I'm going to go on a mission trip with her. She said, to Uganda, this is perfect. So I book a flight, I pay for everything, we get it all set, and then my period's late. I thought, you got it, okay. Anyways, we had to travel down south because we lived here, but we still had a home down south. We traveled down there, and I didn't tell my husband, I decided to pick up a pregnancy test on our way. And when we got to our home in Southern California, I decided to take it. It wasn't even like when you're supposed to take it. I think it was the middle of the day. Anyway, so I take it. Sure enough, I'm watching it. I'm like, no, I gotta do this again. So sure enough, positive pregnancy test. I sit on the back of the toilet. I laugh a little bit, and then I yelled out to my husband, hey, there's something in the bathroom for you. You should probably go check it out. I know not the best way to do it, but for me in the moment, that's what I wanted to do. Apparently, he thought I was like a little boy with a dirty diaper. So he found the pregnancy test, and what I hear is just laughing coming from the bathroom. So there's a lot of reasons that there was laughing. First of all, the rhythm method didn't work for us. We were so up to our eyeballs in diapers and toy trucks and sippy cups. I just thought, another boy, really, God? Like, I have 3. I can't do this again. And I have hyperemesis. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. It's a fancy word for a lot of puking in pregnancy. Like, so much so that I'm in the hospital at least once for every pregnancy just to get fluids back in my body. So then you add some varicose circulation issues. I'm in compression tights up to my chest in the summer and chasing 3 boys around. Like, God, you're hilarious. I thought we were done. So this all happened in the same week that my husband was supposed to have his vasectomy. So canceled that because it's like, well, I know you don't want to do this again, but what if something happened and you decided you didn't want it? He knows me. So canceled that. And then, so fast forward, made it through the 9 months, but barely. Janetta saved me. That's actually when I met her. I had no Christmas tree in my little tiny rental because I didn't care about anything at that point. Like, it was terrible. And she brought this little fake Christmas tree in and decorated our little house. I think I was on the couch. I think that's when I met Kendall. She was probably like, what's wrong with this woman? It was bad. But I made it. And then we didn't find out what we were having because I just figured I'm having another boy. I'm not going to get my hopes up that there's anything different here for us. So after the fastest labor I've had, I think it was all 3 hours. The first one was 36 hours, so like we've come a long way, right? Yeah, so after the fastest labor I've had, it's a girl. And not only is it a girl, but she has red hair. My boys don't have red hair. So I think I was about to faint as she was coming out. I think I had to have like 5 people tell me it's a girl because I was just like, what? I'm not understanding. Anyways, so we ended up with this little girl who anybody that knows Riley, she's a crack up. She's got braces today. She's got glasses and red hair and a really low voice. being said, I had a desire for a little girl that would like bring me to tears when I look at like little kid magazines and see this cute little girl on the magazine. I would be like in the grocery store line crying. People would not know what was going on, but it was just like I had this desire for this little girl, and I always thought I was going to be this little brown-eyed girl. I told my husband for a long time, I just see this little brown-eyed girl, and I'm supposed to have this. Well, my redhead has green eyes. She doesn't have brown eyes, and that was just something that God went beyond my expectations of what I ever could have desired, and fulfilled them in many ways. But I had to surrender that idea over to Him for Him to really come through in amazing ways. So there's that little surrender thing again, It's like, it's been an ongoing thing in my life, and why I'm surprised every time He says it again is beyond me, but I am. So, after we had this little girl, about 2 years go by, I still have this burden for the orphan child. That was the whole reason we got this house, and here we are getting closer. So then, I feel stuck again. And I plead, Lord, where are you at in this? Like, what's your purpose here? What are we supposed to do? I just felt weary in it. And all my weary wandering, looking for all these signs and trying to figure out, is this adoption thing even what you have for us? I finally just felt like, okay, I really have to let this thing go. Maybe we're not supposed to adopt at all. It had become such this thing I was chasing after, that I think I chased after that more than I was after God. So it's like He gives me this desire, and then that desire becomes my push, my drive, my everything. And I had to be taken back to square one. We even had a family meeting. Who feels like we're supposed to adopt? Who feels like we're supposed to foster? We had these mixed emotions, but in all of it, we had to just get everybody to come to this place of, we're only doing this if this is what God wants us to do. So we laid it down. I even thought about going back to work, which I've been a stay-at-home mom for a long time, and that kind of went in all kinds of different directions. And I thought, wow, maybe I could use my degree that I got years ago on something other than reverse psychology on my children. So, in that time, I felt really bare. I felt like God had literally ripped those roots out, and I was left with nothing. I'm a dreamer, and God gives me a dream, and then I run with it. That's what I do. That's what I know. So, God, if I don't have that, what am I doing? What am I here for? Do I have purpose? So He let me stay in that place for a little while. And then He brought some fires. You guys remember the car fire? This is right about then. So the car running blows up, and my husband, who's law enforcement, he gets called off of his regular duty, and he gets taken down to Reading. So now I feel bare, I feel naked, I feel kind of like, what are we doing? I really felt like we had, purpose. I had a purpose. This is my life calling, and it's gone. And now my husband is gone, and I'm left with all the children. After they go to bed, I have all this quiet time that I don't normally have, because my husband and I would normally spend that time together. So I really pressed into the Lord, and I was given a book to read from a good friend. Anyway, so pressed into the Lord. This car fire is happening, and then the Hornbrook fire happened. You guys remember that? Another fire. Well, our good friends who are also in foster care, they ended up having to find respite care for their little guy. Their little guy has Down syndrome. We were all attached to him. He's just a fantastic little guy. They had him since the hospital. So we get to have this little guy. That was fun. We have him for longer than expected. And then he goes back home. Well, in between those times, in those fires and all of that, he goes back home, and I start thinking about, okay, Lord, we're surrendering this to you, and He brings back the idea of international adoption. So I start looking into that again, and that's just a scary thought. Anybody that's been down that road, it's a lot, but between the quiet time and this book that my friend gave me, I'm reading through this book, and the author's daughter's name is Sophia. And I've read that name many, many times, and then I come across this name, and my eyes won't go past it. I don't know if you guys have ever had that happen. Like, they just wouldn't move past that name. I thought, okay, Lord, are you talking to me? Like, what's going on? So I put my book down and look up the meaning of that that mean, thinking, oh, he's got something, well, it means wisdom, that's great, whatever. Anyway, so close the book, go to bed, wake up the next morning, thought of international adoption in my mind again. I opened up my phone and I have an email that I've been getting for 5 years, I think, and it's children waiting all around the world for families. So, but it's so broad and so wide, like how do you just choose a kid, right? Like, what are we doing? How do you, that's crazy. So I open it up and I think, okay, if we ever really thought about this, we have to look through what works through the state of California, because our state's different than how they work. So I put that filter in there, and up pops the first adoption agency that I recognize, because a friend had adopted through them. I open it up, and the first person at the top of that list, her name is Sophie, and she has Down syndrome. And I think, wow, okay, God, is that you? Are you talking to me now? So I kind of tuck that away because it's like, what's Greg gonna think? He adopting from China and a child with special needs, like, we have 4 kids, what are we doing, But we just had this little guy and he was amazing, and it opened up our idea, or our thoughts to like, maybe we could do something like this. Anyway, so my poor husband comes home after the fire, He's like, okay, so we're adopting from China, we're adopting a child with special needs. Why her? Why this adoption agency? Why China? And what are we doing? So we're in like 2 different places, we haven't seen each other for a while. Anyway, so I'm upset because I'm like, I feel like this is God and you're stopping it. Like, what are you doing? My poor husband, he's put up with so much. Anyway, so next morning we're gonna go work out and I'm just frustrated and he can tell. And so we're going in different vehicles because he's got to go to work afterwards. And I call him up and I said, why don't we just go have coffee? We need to connect. You've been gone for a while. You've been working all these fires. Let's just go connect. So we go. We sit at Starbucks. We have a cup of coffee. And we're just kind of he's just trying to figure out where I'm coming from and why. And I'm trying to explain everything. Well, in walks this boy. And he said, did you see the kid that just came in? I said, no. In walks this boy. And he said, well, he has Down syndrome. I said, oh, interesting. This boy comes up to our table. We have no idea who this is, right? He comes up to our table and he's smiling at me. And he said, can I give you a hug? So I said, sure. So he comes over, gives me a hug. He takes Greg's hat off, starts giving him a noogie. And he's like all over Greg. And I'm just kind of like, this is weird. Like, we don't know who this person is. And he's hugging us. His mom comes over. Hey, leave them alone. And I'm like, you have no idea what we were just talking about. And afterwards he left and I said to my husband, has that ever happened? In your life, has that ever happened? And he said no. I said, do you think it's a sign? Like, do you think this is what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to proceed forward with this? And he said, I think so. Let's pray about it some more. So that led to confirmation after confirmation after confirmation, to the point that that boy I found out lives in the house that we lived in this town. So many things. I could write a book. I actually went and met with a social worker for foster care, and we talked with them about that and what that would look like. And we went away from there saying, we're not doing that. There's no way. We can't take these children into our home, let our kids get attached to them, and then say, see you later. Like, that's just torture. Why would we do that? How would we do that? Anyway, so 1 year goes by, and with that big no that we gave, there was no removal of the burden and no forward movement. It was like God just kept circling us back into this place of, you need to look at foster care. So we finally decided to take the plunge, and we did so, and it was hard, but at the same time, it was really rewarding and really amazing. And we thought, okay, maybe this is the way, this is what God's going to do. Well, 4 years of fostering, I think it was 13 children in and out of our home. We were no closer to adoption than when we started. There were some wonderful experiences, like we learned so much. But what I noticed in that season and in those times was people would come up to me and say, I could never do what you do. It's just so amazing. You're amazing. It's like, now I'm not amazing. I'm just stepping into something I feel like God wants me to do. Nothing's in and of me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to walk this calling out. And it's hard. I'm not good at it. I But I felt like we got the glory a little too much, and it was uncomfortable at times because it's like, no, God, this is God in me. He just asked us to do this, and we did this. But still, people admired us. They saw us as the people that were doing this. And then we ended up into this place where we were actually going to adopt one of our previous foster placement's sibling. Mom got pregnant with number 8. And she called me and said, I'm pregnant again, and will God forgive me if I have an abortion? I was just like, wait, well, you're pregnant again, let's start there. Wow, really? So we went on this road of, if I have this baby, will you keep it? So we thought, maybe this is what we're doing, this is what God has for us. So sure enough, we decided to do that. We went through with that. I even actually started taking hormones to lactate. We went like full in. It was like, we're going to do this, I'm going to treat this baby like it's my own. So we did that. She got really quiet all of a sudden. And I finally said to her, if you're having second thoughts, I need to know. And she finally said, I just don't know if I can hand the baby over to you. I really don't know. So that was kind of like a final just closed door. We had so many placements where they would say, there's no way this child is going home. This is your child. We'd have these promises after promise after promise, and yet the child's flourishing, but then they go. It was like, God, I know that we're supposed to adopt. We had enough money to live, but savings, I think we had $80,000 in it. So we had opened an adoption savings account way back when we first talked about it. Well, the adoption application fee was $350, so I thought, let's look in here. I wonder if there's even any money in there. $372. That was step 1. We took a step. Okay, we're this far, God's gonna slam doors, right? He did it with foster care, all this stuff. We'll close the door. I'm sure he's gonna close the door at some point. How are we gonna do this? Well, my husband got an overtime check from the car fire. That paid the next fee. And then the next fee, and the next fee. The community has surrounded us in such an incredible way. But here we are right now, fully funded, $35,000 in less than a year. We really didn't do it. God did it. And the greatest thing about this whole story is just, how I was talking about in foster care, they're like, you're so amazing, We haven't done it. God is amazing. God did every bit of it. And if He starts something, by golly, He is going to finish it. He has shown me that so tremendously in this less than a year walk through just, a binder this thick of paperwork. If you think buying a house is a lot of paperwork, try adopting. It's incredible. They want to know absolutely everything about you and your surrounding family. You're taking on a person, so I do think it's important that it is that way. But it is an incredible journey that God has provided so clearly for. So all that talk and all that to say, if your life is full, if it's busy, really take a look at, God, what in here is you, and what do I need to surrender over? What do I need to let go? What do I need to allow you to pull out? Because God wants us to live on mission. He really does. One of His first commandments was to be fruitful and multiply. Does your life feel fruitful? Is that a word you use to describe your life? Are you multiplying? Are our lives sharing the best news that has ever been told to us? That we have a God who's crazy in love with us, that died a brutal death just to be close to us? That should be pretty, upfront, right? And for me, it's not always. Because I'm consumed with my life. But He's showing me so much that, I got this. Just let me lead. Let me do this. And watch what I can do with you. But really, we're in charge of that soil. That's our work. We have to steward that soil so that those seeds can come in and they can bear fruit. They can take root. And there's those dark places. Those dark places of feeling like there's no vision. There's can become spiritually deaf, and our hearts can become so hard. And in Isaiah, it really talks about that. It talks about the hardness of our hearts. It talks about being spiritually blind and being deaf. But that's where Satan wants us. Did you know that prisoners are blindfolded so they don't know when the blow is coming? So if we're spiritually blindfolded, Satan can hit us from any direction and we don't see it coming. When our ears are plugged up and we can't hear the voice of God because we have so much other noise going on, we're not going to know when God says go this way or that way, right? But isn't it interesting that it says that we're supposed to drink in the water of the Word? Jesus is described as the living water. Have you ever noticed that when your ears are plugged, you take a drink and they become unplugged? I find that really interesting. If we're drinking in the Word, it's keeping our ears open. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. So if your faith muscle feels a little weak, maybe our ears need to be unplugged. Take off the spiritual blindfold. Ask God every morning, like, God, what do you have for me today? Because He has purpose every single day for us. It may be small stuff, but everybody here has purpose, and He has great things for us. So T.D. Jakes, I was reading a devotional as I was preparing for this, which, God's just good like that. He'll make things line up, if we're just constantly seeking Him out. But this was super, super good. God never intends to lead us to a place just to leave us alone in the dark. No, that's precisely when He's able to move in, to plant a seed so full of such great potential that His will for your life is born. The seeming death through which He escorted me was merely the precipice of a new beginning. And new beginning is what the planting and death of each seed is all about. Those areas and times when the death of a dream, assignment, or vision seems to stop your every move are nothing more than entrances into the next realm of your life. Don't run from them, embrace them. The proverbial death of what you're trying to keep alive will enrich the growth of the lives of others. I am so amazed at how God has brought unity in our adoption. We got to know the Framers in such an incredible way. We knew them, but we got to really know them, They go to a different church. We knew them, but we've really gotten to know them. And they've spoken to our lives in incredible ways and helped us in really amazing ways. But, He does more than you can expect. Like, He's brought unity. We did this project. I don't know if you guys saw it. We did this project on a widow's house. We got approved to do it. And we get to actually work on a widow's house. Jen Milano was a huge part in that because we got to paint this widow's house. Jen is another one, different church, right? There's just unity happening throughout this. God is like a byproduct of our adoption. It's the craziest thing. We get to paint this widow's house, who's from a different church as well. And people that are working on the house get sponsored to do the work. That took us to the fully funded mark. But what God did in that moment, in those few hours that we worked that day, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible to see the body of Christ, all different, I think there were 5 churches there represented, all coming together. We're blessing a widow and bringing an orphan home. What's that sound like? That sounds like the Bible. But it just is incredible to me that by letting my dream die of what I thought, God, this is what you want me to do, let me do it. By letting that die, by fully surrendering over everything to His will, He did something way beyond what I ever thought was possible. Like, has blown our minds beyond what we ever thought could be. But if we kept running and trying to do everything that we thought He wanted us to do, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have these relationships with these amazing women. I wouldn't be here. Like, He's done incredible things. So I just want to encourage you to really search your heart out. Really, if you're in that place, just let Him come in and till it up. And it might be a lot of crying. Like, I've cried more in the last year than I think I've had in 10 years. I hate crying. Like, hate it. I will go into a bathroom, lock myself away so no one sees me, and I cry all the time now. But He softened my heart through this process because I had to give it over and much for this word. I thank you for the ability to share it with an incredible group of women. God, I pray that the seeds that were poured out through Michelle, that will be poured out through worship, that anything I said, God, I pray that those seeds would not land on hard, dry ground. But that those seeds would just drop into that moist, dark place where our hands are open and our hearts are laid bare because we want what you want for our lives. We hand over our marriages. We hand over our children. They're your children before they're ours. We hand over our family, our jobs, our careers, our dreams, our desires. Everything that we want, Father, that we desire. God, we give those things to you because you're our maker. You know what we're here for. So we can trust you fully. We can dive into who you are and allow your Holy Spirit to just work growth in us. So God, we just thank you. We thank you for this time. I pray that our ears would be open, our hearts would be softened, and our eyes would be looking for steps